Good morning, and is this on? Good morning. Doesn't sound like it's on. Yep. Good morning, and welcome to the sixth meeting of the World Radio Communication Conference Advisory Committee as we run up to WRC-19. I will start by thanking, of course, all the hard work of the members of the working groups. And to take note of the progress we've made to date. After this meeting, we will have considered a majority of the proposals by the WAC, which is great. But we're clearly entering a difficult phase. I am told that while, of course, we always try to come up with a consensus view, occasionally we come up with a view A and a view B. I am told that for the first time ever, the proposal today with that adds on a view C and a view D is unprecedented. I know this is challenging work, but obviously it makes the process a little harder for our friends here at the Commission when we come up with multiple views like that. And it also appears that many of the WAC proposals don't seem to be aligning with proposals from the radio conference subcommittee coming over from the IRAC. Again, obviously very challenging, lots of tough technical issues that we work through, so we appreciate all of that, but I would just urge you once again to redouble your efforts to reach consensus as we move forward. You know, it's important for the U.S. to obviously put our best foot forward as a nation as we go to CTEL, or the conference preparatory meeting, and into the future, and that starts with getting as much consensus as we can from this group. So appreciate your efforts in that regard. We've got 10 new proposals and an updated preliminary view to consider at this meeting, in addition to comments on contributions from NTIA and the RCS committee. This is our first paperless meeting. All the items were posted on the website a week ago. We do have some reference materials over there, but they're not for the taking. And this guy is the enforcer, so watch out if you try to sneak out of here with one of those. Other than that, Chris, I'll turn to my vice chair. Any opening comments?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Very good. There will be opportunities here, of course, as always, for comment. Just a reminder, if you make comments, to identify yourself and who you represent. And for our working group presenters, I would say, when you stand up to give your report, first give the report, the summary of the work since the last meeting, and we'll take comment on that, and then present each of the items individually, and we'll separately seek comment and approval for each of those. We will turn now to the agenda for today's meeting. That is document 60. Ask for if there's any comment on that. Anybody want a view B on the agenda? I hope not. Very good. We will declare the agenda approved. And then document 59 is the minutes from the fifth meeting, the last meeting of the advisory committee. Any comments there? Okay, hearing none, we will declare that approved. And I'll turn it over to Chris.
Okay, I'd like to invite Brian Patton from NTIA to come up and provide updates on IRAC's radio conference subcommittee process. Can you please provide a brief report? Yes, please. You can do it at the podium, yeah.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman. Good morning, everybody. I'm here in lieu of Mr. Charles Glass, who is the Chief of the International Spectral Policy Division. I am the Chief of the Terrestrial Branch at the International Spectrum Policy Division at NTIA. I'll keep it brief so that you can get on to the important work of the WAC. NTIA has sent over 3 different deliveries since the last time that you met. These are in documents WAC 61, WAC 62, and WAC document 74, 74 by far being the largest contribution to date for your considerations. The 3 documents present 24 individual proposals. I will not go into detail in those proposals, but they present 24 individual proposals for 12 items on the WRC-19 agenda. And these are all from the federal agency perspective. Some of the agenda items, of course, have multiple proposals breaking out individual frequency ranges. So, for example, agenda item 1.13 and 1.14. Or by individual issues under the agenda item, which would be, for example, for agenda item 7 on satellite regulatory issues and 9.1 for the director's report. The point of contact for questions related to these proposals is Mr. Charles Glass. He is the WRC coordinator for NTIA, and his contact information is given in the cover page of each of the documents before you. I'm just going to keep it right there, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman, just be brief. If you have any questions, we will be happy to try and assist in any way that we can.
Okay, thank you, Brian. I'll note that the documents have been submitted to the appropriate IWGs. And are there any comments from the meeting today on those documents that Brian described?
I just have a question.
Okay. Can you go to the microphone, please, Jennifer? And identify yourself, please.
Sure, Jennifer Manor, Ecostar Hughes. Just a question on process. Will these be put on the WAC public notice, or will they be only put on the public notice after they're endorsed by the different IWGs? Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Jennifer. Following every WAC meeting, the FCC sends out a public notice that has 2 annexes. The first annex includes all of the recommendations that have been submitted as proposals or preliminary views from the FCC. The second annex, Annex B, includes all the RCS proposals. All of those proposals that Dr. Patton just introduced will be included. For one specific proposal, Agenda Item 7, Issue A, it was highlighted by the IWG4 members that it would be important for the U.S. to continue its leadership, both at CTEL and at the ITU, on that agenda item, which is dealing with satellite regulatory issues. So we would make a special request from the FCC that any comments on the RCS proposal on Agenda Item 7, Issue E, come through that public notice process. The FCC will review any of the comments on that specific issue and see the best way to handle so that the FCC and NTIA can reconcile that in time for the upcoming CTEL meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, thank you, Brian. Moving on to agenda item number 5, IWG 1. I'd like to invite Joe Kramer from Boeing to present the report of the latest group activities.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman. The MARS Informal Working Group, which is Maritime, Aeronautical, and Radar Services, we met once since the last meeting, and during this time, we did not receive any documents from industry to consider. However, given activities of NTIA and such, we hope to have a meeting to consider various topics after this WAC meeting, probably realistically after the upcoming 5A, 5B, 5C working group meetings in Geneva. I also believe that it'll give us a time from our perspective, industry's perspective, to look at our preliminary views and work on proposals while we're there, because we're all thinking about, the various issues there. But just to give you a quick update with respect to what IWG1 has done so far, we've given the WAC a proposal on agenda item 1.8, which is with respect to GMDSS. We have preliminary views on agenda items 1.9.1 and 1.9.2, which are maritime issues, and I'm hoping that the maritime community can work at the upcoming, 5B meetings and think about this. We also have a proposal on agenda item 1.10, which is GADS, Global Aeronautical Distress and Safety System, as well as a preliminary view on agenda item 9.1.4, which is suborbital vehicles or space planes. And again, I hope we can work on that, or at least think about it while we're all at 5B, the aeronautical community. No inputs yet on future agenda items for consideration. As chair, I strongly urge industry to start doing that yesterday, and let's put things together sooner versus later on such. With that, I'm open for any questions from anyone.
Okay, seeing none. Thank you, Joe.
Thanks.
We will turn to IWG2, Terrestrial Services, and Jane Stankiewicz from Intel is here to present that report.
Thank you, and Joe, if you need some documents, we're going to hit triple digits pretty soon, so let us know. We can send some your way. So IWG2 has met 4 times since the last WAC meeting. We have 5 documents for consideration today. including 2 with a view A, view B, and 1 with the, our chair has noted, the unprecedented view A, B, C, and D. In addition, we have also looked at some of the documents from NTIA with respect to issue 9.1.5 that has already been reconciled, so we did not have to deal with that one in WAC document 61. With respect to WAC document 62, for the 31.8 to 33.4 band, T-Mobile did express their view that there is value in the band. However, they were willing to allow it to go forward to the FCC for reconciliation at this meeting. With respect to 45.5 to 47.2 gigahertz, IWG2 is not in a position to endorse the proposal at this time, but we will have further discussions on this matter. And then with respect to WAC document 74, we simply did not have a chance to get to that. It came right at the very last minute. So we will start our considerations of that when we resume after this WAC meeting. Therefore, ensuring that we'll be in triple digits, unless Joe takes a bunch of them off our hands. So with that, I'm done with the status report, and we can start going through the documents.
Any comments on just the report? If not, you can proceed with the documents.
Thank you. So the first document we have is WAC document 63, and that is a view A, view B for agenda item 113 on IMT with respect to the 47.2 to 50.2 gigahertz bands.
Any comments on document 63? None? Okay. Approved.
The next document is 64, and that is a draft proposal for no change in 66 to 71 gigahertz.
Any comments? All right, that is approved.
The next document is, as a Californian, we have managed to make sure the WAC goes wireless, a paperless for the first time with the 4 views here. So
Wireless is good too.
wireless is good too. We have that. No, I think we're at over 100 pages in that document. So document 65 is the view A, B, C, and D with respect to 114 on HAPS. And I would note that view A is a full proposal, and then the other views address pieces of the document.
Any comments on 65? All right, it's approved. Yes.
So, on behalf of the FCC, I wanted to thank IWG2 and the WAC for the agenda item 1.14 proposal. We made numerous requests to IWG2 to provide this proposal, given the U.S.'s interest in this agenda item, both at the previous conference under agenda item 10, and then at the Working Party 5C meeting and at CTEL. And we saw the rest of the world moving a bit quicker than us on this, so we're very happy that you were able to bring us a proposal, even if it is 4 views. Typically, if there is this much disagreement, the FCC would ask that the WAC continue to discuss this proposal back down to the IWG2 level. We had some conversations in the IWG2 level of whether or not that would be an effective use of time, given that the RCS has provided its proposals. The FCC has a strong foundation of what both the proponents and the incumbents would like to see on a proposal in 1.14. So we're pretty sure that within reconciliation, the U.S. can continue its leadership on this agenda item. I'd note that while it does have 4 views, if you look at the proposals band by band, there isn't really that much disparity between each of them. So we do see a lot more consensus than your 100-page document might show. Thank you.
It was all to get paperless, Mike.
All right, that one's approved. You can move on to the next document.
All right, the next document is document 66, and this is with respect to agenda item 116, which covers WAS RLANs in the 5 gigahertz range. And in particular, document 66 is a view A, view B with respect to the 5150 to 5250 megahertz bands.
Any comments on document 66? All right, that one is approved.
And the last document we have is WAC document 67, which is shown in markup as a revision to WAC document 61 from the RCS, and that addresses the remainder of the 5 gigahertz bands under consideration in 1.16.
Any comments on 67? Hearing none, that is approved.
And just if I could make one last comment. I do appreciate all the members of IWG2. We have had a significant amount of work. We have had many, many offline discussions and meeting time, and a lot of just effort put forward to come up with all the documents. And the debates have been respectful, civil, and definitely we have different views, but I appreciate the spirit in which the discussions have taken place. And the good news is I've looked at all the agenda items, and we have completed our work on 1.1, 1.11, 1.12, 1.14, 1.15, 1.16, 9.1.1, 9.1.2, 9.1.5, and 9.1.8. So all we have left is some of the bands on 113. And so if we can continue that spirit of cooperation and civil discussion, we may just make it through to the work. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Jane, and thank you, members of the working group. It sounds a lot better when you put it that way.
Okay, thanks. On to IWG3, agenda item number 7, space services. Don't think Zach's going to handle it for Zach Rosenblum for Jack Weinrich, who is Wangernick, who's I guess not here today. So Zach, could you please present Jack's report for us? Thanks.
Yes, just checking. Is Jack in the room? He's not. No, thank you, Chairman, Vice Chair. We have 3 documents for your consideration today. In terms of the meetings, I think we've met 4 times since the last WAC. And we've progressed our work on 1.5, 1.6, 1.7, and unfortunately not yet on 1.3, but we understand that there's something coming from the RCS, which we will consider at a future meeting. For 1.5, we were unable to achieve consensus at this point, so we have 3 views, A, B, and C. The views speak for themselves, so I would leave them at that. For 1.6, we have a consensus proposal for an NGSO regulatory framework in the Q and V bands. There is an outstanding concern from Viasat about the aggregate protection of the GSO and the consultation meeting approach. This concern is being captured in the minutes of the recent IWG3 meeting. Regarding Resolution 750, IWG3 carefully considered the GSO FSS out-of-band emission levels and has made no changes to the GSO limits in this document that you see before you. Regarding 1.7, this is a new PV that's being submitted based on new work that has gone on at the ITU since the last PV was agreed. The lead is 7B for this work, and they're continuing their work on a new method C, which addresses new frequency bands that were not identified previously. And this PV addresses those new studies. As a note, IWG3 can support the no change proposal from NTIA. It's a draft proposal from NTIA. And that's a summary, and any comments?
Let's take them one at a time. Agenda item 1.5, any comments? Damon, can you get up and identify yourself, please?
Thanks, Chris. I'm Damon Ladson. I'm representing Iridium. And this is just to highlight a feature of View C of 1.5. You will see in that view that we have provided an alternative proposal. However, I would like to highlight that our primary view is that it is premature at this time to adopt a proposal for 1.5. And the reason is that Resolution 158 calls for complete and agreed studies for a number of services, including non-GSO MSS feeder links. That's an open issue within the U.S. process, and until that issue is closed, we believe it's premature to adopt this agenda item. However, as I said, we have included alternative proposal. If the FCC goes forward, then we would like to see that proposal go forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Damon. Any other comments? 1.5? Okay, approved. Agenda item 1.6, comments? Seeing none, approved. Agenda item 1.7, any comments? Document 70? Okay, seeing none, approved, thanks.
And I should note, I should also thank, on behalf of Jack, the participation of the IWG3 membership. It's been very constructive, even though we have a View C. The meetings have been very well, have gone very well. Thank you.
Moving on to IWG4, Jennifer Manor from Ecostar is here to present the report and the documents.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Vice Chairman. Like WG3, we have met 4 times because they're our sister group for all intents and purposes. So, and our group has been making quite a big bit of progress. I do want to just second what Michael brought up earlier about Agenda Item 7, Issue E, and we would urge people to pay attention to that in the public notice. That is an item that our group feels is fairly important. I also want to flag one item which I did not see on the agenda, which was RCS input on Agenda Item 9.1.6. And we have endorsed that proposal, but have asked the FCC to make a couple of editorial comments with regard to Resolution 958. So that is one that the IWG4 would like to go forward. And I don't know how you want to handle that, Mr. Chairman, so I do want to raise that here. But we did have consensus within the IWG. So
Okay,
going.
thank you, noted.
Okay, thank you. So going to our items, WAC Document 71, application of coordination arc in the Ka-band to determine coordination requirements between FSS and other satellite services. We'd like, Agenda Item 7, Issue B, we'd like to put forward for consideration by the WAC.
That's document 71. Any comments on that? Okay, approved.
Thank you. Then document 72, agenda item issue C5, Bureau reminder to notifying administrations per footnote 11.46. We'd also like to put forward for approval.
Any comments on document 72? That item is approved.
Thank you. And then last but not least, agenda item 7, issue D, document 73, identification of specific satellite networks and systems which coordination needs need to be effected under the radio regulations 912, 912A, and 913 for approval as well.
Any comments on document 73? All right, that is approved.
Okay, thank you, and I'd like to thank the members of the IWG4. I think we've made quite a bit of progress this time, almost at the end of our consideration, so I do want to thank the members and just remind them we have a meeting on November 1st, so thank you. With IWG3 the same day.
Thank you, Jennifer. That is the end of the working group presentations. I would call attention to document 4, which is the WRC-19 preparatory timeline. You can see the upcoming ITUR meetings and the prep timeline there. The next meeting of the advisory committee is tentatively scheduled for March 11th, 2019. As a reminder, that is the last opportunity to submit proposals for consideration, including agenda item 10, looking forward to the following work. Before we enter into delegation mode where the preparations are led by the Department of State. So March 11th is what we're looking for there. Turning to item 10 on the agenda, other business, I'll just offer the floor up to anyone who has any comments or questions generally. Nope. Chris?
Yes, a special item. Wanted to note the passing of a colleague of ours at a recent meeting in Geneva, Alex Gurdenich, who was, I think, a good friend to all of us, and was active participant in many of our groups. He had been, I think, both involved in the terrestrial industry at one point in his career and also the satellite industry, and was someone you could always turn to for valuable insights into technical issues or policy issues. I think that after this meeting adjourns, we're going to have an opportunity to get together and remember Alex together. And I don't know if anyone wants to say anything about that. Michael, do you want to add something about that?
Yeah, thanks, Chris. I wanted to make the same notes that you did. Earlier this year, we lost a dear friend and colleague, Alexander Gurdenich, at the Working Party 4A meeting. Alex served on the WAC most recently as the primary member for Intelsat, as well as a member of U.S. delegations, both to the ITUR and CTEL. On behalf of the Commission, we wanted to express our deepest condolences to Alex's family, friends, and colleagues. Speaking personally, Alex was a friend and widely respected in our field for his valuable contributions, including drafting numerous proposals for the United States towards the upcoming conference. In a time of UAs and VBs and mobile versus satellite, Alex's remarkable career spanned both industries, and he's earned the honor of being one of the most highly respected experts in his field. The U.S. WRC community is unlike any other I've personally ever worked in. We spend hours, days, weeks, months together in teleconferences, delegation meetings, Star Alliance lounges, together at dinners in Geneva, becoming more than colleagues. I call it a family, but we often spend more time with each other over the course of 3 to 4 years than with our own families. On behalf of the FCC, Alex, we'll miss you, and thank you for all you did to support us for all these years. You were a wonderful friend and colleague, and we'll keep you in our thoughts. I kindly invite all those interested to stay after the WAC meeting concludes to share your own memories of Alex. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments, Michael, about the upcoming meetings or anything?
The only other thing I'll note is to pattern what Tom said. We have one WAC meeting remaining next year before we go into full delegation mode for the WRC. So this is the last opportunity to both comment on the RCS proposals that have been sent to us, the RCS proposals that will be sent to us, and to start focusing on agenda item 10 so that we can restart this process all over again for WRC 23, 24, whenever it's going to be. The RCS has gotten the ball rolling. I think you're up to 3 or 4 future agenda items, 4. So it's time for industry to catch up and take the lead so that way the U.S. has a good balance of both federal and industry representation on the next agenda. So we'll look forward to seeing those hopefully at the next WAC meeting. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments that anyone wants to make before we adjourn? All right, thank you, everyone, and keep up the good work. We're only a year away from the conference, so getting close. We're adjourned.